I'd really appreciate it if Shonen Jump would stop canceling and then swiftly adding and then canceling and then adding series so that we could finish our chapter 1 reviews in peace without having to talk about dead series.
I think that's just the life of a chapter 1 reviewer. Constant rise and fall of new manga.
Sometimes you review a strong chapter 1 and sometimes you review a corpse, and that's just what you have to deal with.
So right now we are dissecting the corpse that is Mitama Security.
Mitama. It's Mitama.
That is Mitama Security Spirit Busters. Why didn't this one work?
Okay, so we've got our classic straight man, funny man setup. We've got Joe, crybaby spirit man.
Security.
Oh god. I hated the security pun so much. And then we've got Reina, literally just high school girl. The initial premise that starts the gag is that you have this high school girl named Reina who is
ultra haunted.
Yeah, she's haunted to the next level where her whole life is just walking around with a series of ghosts following behind her. Not unlike a line of people waiting for a ramen bar. That was my favorite joke in the series, by the way, and it happened in like the first 5 pages.
It made me want to eat ramen so badly.
Oh, I know. So Joe, this whiny, wacky spirit buster, comes up to her, and she's just lived her whole life trying to completely ignore the ghosts, which has worked perfectly fine for her. And he's trying to actually
spirit bust them. Yeah, you were talking about the security pun. I'm actually pretty annoyed. Like, when you're translating something into English, it would be best if you can find the pun in English. Could they not find anything with ghost or spirit or like boo? Anything spooky sounding and make a pun that wasn't using rei, which I guess means ghost in Japanese.
It was pretty bad. It also involved having a translator note at the bottom, which I wouldn't really expect that from Shonen Jump per se.
And it was a huge gag. He says security so many times. It's not funny to us because we don't speak Japanese.
Can we think of a better one? I was trying to think of one like bolter protection.
I'm just gonna call it Mitama Security Spirit Boosters. Boo.
What if it's like surveillance, but it's I don't know. Maybe this is harder. Maybe we should give him a break.
Well, no, but my point is, this is something they're being paid for. I ain't being paid for this.
Spa protection. I like spa protection. You don't hear the ghost, the spectral part.
I feel like it would make it even funnier if it was really bad.
Because security is horrifying, so it should be about at that level, but just not require a translator's note. Okay, let's get back to reality.
We've got the straight-faced character, we got the wacky character.
And oh, how wacky is, how he jiggles in front of our eyes for our amusement.
He's so scared of ghosts, but it's his job. Well, is that where everyone's power comes from? They're all afraid of ghosts so much that they cry? Or is that just him?
No, it was like a big, the action scene at the end. That was the second joke that I thought was kind of funny.
What, you liked his tears spurting from his eyeballs?
Oh, no, not at all. It's when he pulls out the gun and he just keeps on flipping the gun. He just keeps on flipping it and he won't stop. Not much unlike when Mash was bouncing that ball.
Same gag, still funny.
Yeah, where in the end it turns out that when he starts crying, his eyes start glowing and then he can pull out a gun and that's when he gets serious. So part of me wonders if this series is supposed to be like gag first and foremost, but then when the action hits, the action looks kind of cool. I actually don't mind the art style, although I will say that in the context it ended up feeling a little bit drab just because a lot of the drawings were literally just two characters standing on a Japanese neighborhood street staring at each other.
Mm-hmm.
The girl almost looked shoujo-esque to me. She had that detailing on her eyes that reminded me of that. And then he reminded me more of early 70s art. I think it's Akiko Higurashi who does Princess Jellyfish. She'll sometimes do these goofy shots where she pulls from more of the 70s manga style where they use thick brush strokes. I'll find some examples in the video and kind of show them here for what I'm referring to, which I like. I like that throwback aspect to the art style. I just thought that it didn't really play out much in the action or comedy.
Yeah, I wonder if something like this, any in this kind of genre, I feel like it works better as an anime because you don't have to put as much in, like actually reading it versus just sitting there and taking it in. It's just a bit easier.
I get that, and I think that having the lines delivered would be funnier because the voice actors could give different performances or different reactions instead of us just reading over and over again the girl just being like, oh, what's he doing? Yeah, anyway, 1 out of 5.
Yeah, 1 out of 5. Yeah, it's not funny either. A lot of the comedy manga I've been reading in Shonen Jump hasn't been very funny.
Did you laugh at anything in Agravity Boys? That was another one that wasn't funny.
Yes, that was the only one. Like, I was even harsher on it than I should have been. Because I think A Gravity Boys is absurd genius. At least that first chapter. I haven't read any more.
I thought I laughed in like Bone Collection, but then I read past chapter 1 and ooh, that was not fun.
Well, I didn't think that was very funny either because they just made bloody nose jokes.
Yeah, they did that in Hard-Boiled Cop and Dolphin too, the bloody nose. It's not funny. Anyways, let's move on to Greener Pastures.
Yeah, one that I think you did think was kind of funny.
Moriking! I love Moriking so much. And I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion. I don't know what the general consensus of Moriking is, but just this first chapter, I was laughing so much. I had tears in my eyes for some of the jokes. I think this is sort of like a series that's made for me. I'm on the same wavelength as the author.
While I was reading it, I was like, I'm not loving this. It's okay, but I know that Jay is loving this. I could tell. It's like right up your alley.
You could hear the giggling from across the globe. So the setup to Moriking is that you've got this brother-sister combo, Shoko the older sister, Shota the younger brother. So Shota's completely enamored, and he's putting so much love and care into this rhinoceros beetle larva. Another addition, I love all the illustration of bugs in this. It was just great.
True.
By the way, everyone, do yourself a favor, Google rhinoceros beetle larva on YouTube and go watch videos of rhinoceros beetles turning from larva into their final form as a beetle. It will disgust and enthrall you, at least if you're the same kind of person as me. The big punchline is that when the larva, when it's finally fully formed, it just turns into this beautiful princely naked man. He's Moriking.
And Shoko is just flabbergasted.
Okay, I was saying before in our Mashle review how I got so sick of all the characters kind of reacting to the jokes, how it was always like joke reaction, joke reaction, joke reaction. In fact, that's like, I mean, that's kind of classic Japanese comedy. You know, you've got the wacky thing and then you've got the person going, boy, sure, golly, that was wacky. But I really like how in this series, you're following Shoko's perspective as she's this really normal Japanese teenager. And you see her thinking and trying to process what's fully happening in front of her. And at first she thinks like, did a pervert just crawl in through the window? How did this man appear? I don't understand. And then just you snap cut to Shota running up to him like, Moriking! And the end of this first gag is her leaping out of the second story window.
And she comes back with a broken arm.
And then you go into Moriking's backstory where he has this regal birth where he's claimed king of all the bugs, and he starts off on his quest where he's walking out into the wilderness straight into the hands of a pet store owner who just scoops him up and just brings him to the PetSmart for selling him.
Where he would have died if he were not saved by Shota.
Oh yeah! Another thing about this series is that it's just got that core of heart where Shota just loves Moriking as a bug, as the bug that he raised from birth. And Shoko is just the complete realist. I love with the sister how she's so bratty in such a realistic way where you see her thought process and you see how in the beginning when Shota's talking about how much he loves his rhinoceros beetle, she at first is like, oh, that's gross. But then afterwards she plays as the cooler older sister. You know, that's pretty cool and I'm really glad that you're putting so much love and care into it. And then internally she's thinking like, man, I'm such a good bigger sister.
Is this your thought process, Jay? Are you Shoko?
Is that why I like it so much? I can relate so hardcore. Shota's approaching it with so much sincerity that whenever she approaches it from what she's seeing as rational, but it's really this kind of calculated thing to kind of make her appear as the responsible one in the situation. I like that dynamic a lot. I also like the art style. I think that it really works for comedy. I like the cartoony aspect of them and the way that each character has very defined features. I think if I had read this series as a child, I would have loved drawing out the characters and how each one has a very specific character element. Like Shota has his little Negima glasses, Moriking has that crown and his horn. There's something about certain designs that really called to like that childish aspect. For examples, I'm thinking of One Punch Man. His design would be really fun and easy for kids to draw.
Mm-hmm.
Literally any Pokemon.
The three of them have the three different hair tones that exist in manga. That's very good.
Gosh, what else can I say about Moriking? Do you want to come in here and rain on my parade?
Not even. I mean, I can see how it's likable. I laughed when Shoko is holding on to her little brother and she says, "Let him go." Because she wants Moriking to leave the house and he just said that he would. And then I also like when Moriking turns all black and his wings come out and he flies to the wrestling ring.
That gag at the end, I mentioned at the start of this that I started crying, and it was the wrestling scene.
I just love it.
Because you have all these characters just completely misunderstanding this wacky situation, but kind of rolling with it. And then you have Shoko, who's the killjoy, who's just trying to rein the whole thing in. Shota is so excited to have Moriking participate in this bug tournament, which is ridiculous and absurd on its face because he is a grown man. When he shows up, the lady who's running the event, Shota introduces him like, "This is my rhinoceros beetle. I'd like to introduce him into the event." And the lady pauses for a second and then just lets him into the ring along with all the other bugs.
Moriking's just amongst the beetles.
And the lady just says,
"I won't shatter a child's dream. And what a nice young man. Some kind of cosplay."
yeah, she just thinks it's a dude in a costume because this little boy couldn't bring his own bug. All the kids are just so excited to see Moriking and they don't question it at all while Shoko's sitting there like, why aren't any of these kids saying anything? But anyways, Moriking in the bug fight, he exerts his regal aura and the bugs just right out on the ground. We give up. A little beetle holding a little pencil. Ah! You know what this is also reminding me of is one of my favorite anime, Asobi Asobase, that also had an amazing beetle character. Where one of the characters, they're trying to pull a heist, and one of the characters trains this beetle, which she is called Phantomasu. She's like the perfect beetle for the situation, where she trains him to pick a lock, and like, that's all he does, and then he's out of the series forever. I think I just like beetles doing things, and this is the ultimate beetles doing things manga of all time. Another manga that this pleasantly reminded me of was My Neighbor Seki.
Yeah, definitely has a very similar feel to it as well, with the disbelieving character at the situation versus the insanity that is Seki-kun.
And really letting the comedic situations build and play.
How is it that the straight man doesn't work in Mitama Security Spirit Busters?
I think it has to do with what else the character has going on, because there is really this concept in Japanese gag manga of the straight man, and there is this base template straight man, and that's more of what Reina from Mitama reminded me of, where I guess the only really funny thing about her is that she was just ignoring the ghost for so long. Like, that's kind of funny.
I liked the fact that the ghosts were like, "Thanks for letting us haunt you," and they were in line, but there wasn't really much else to that. So
she didn't make that funny. In Moriking, Shoko is an actor in the story, and it's her actions that make it hilarious. Anyways, I love Moriking. Thanks for listening. If any of you guys don't like Moriking, please don't comment below. I don't want to hear it.
Positive reviews only. And the opposite goes for Mitama Security. Negative reviews only allowed. No.
Oh, wait a second. We didn't give it a rating. 5 out of 5.
You know, I was a 3, but looking back on it, I enjoyed those gags. It gets a 4. That first chapter is a solid 4 in Momo's book.
Did I convince you? Did I bring up your rating? Wow.
Yes, it was a 3. Maybe it's the unfunny other chapters that's just made me extra generous.
I guess thanks for listening. That's it. That's all we got.
Yes, and I am stopping it right now.